Hello everyone, good evening. I hope you're doing well. It is another annual video that we do here every year here on NFTV. This time around, we are scoring each player. Now, obviously, we all know Steve Bruce had Newcastle in charge for about a quarter of the season, maybe just over, maybe a third of the season. And Eddie Howe came over, and the rest is history. Newcastle marched up that Premier League, and you're probably thinking, "Ooh, who's this pretty one on screen?" That's me. That's me. I'm the pretty one, everybody. No, but I am joined by Grace. Grace, how are you?
I'm well, I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your channel.
Yeah, fantastic for coming on, Grace. You might have seen her if you are part of the Toon YouTube crew. She's been on John's channel, John Sinclair's channel a few times. I thought, right, I'm going to pinch her and grab her a nice and rattle through all of the Newcastle players. Please, as ever, jump in your comments, play along, whether you think we're talking a load of rubbish or we've got a bit of sense about each player. We'll be going from goalkeeper, defence, midfield to strikers. And if you're watching live or you're watching the rerun, you know what to do. Smash that like button, please. Please do. Right, I'm going to give you a nice, easy one, Grace. I'm going to give you
Okay.
Morton de Bravka. How do you think your season's gone and what would you rate him?
Yeah, I mean his season's been sorry, it's a dog. I think his season's been all right. I mean he didn't start the season, did he? We had Freddie Woodman for the first few games and then he came back from being injured. But yeah, I think he's had a good season since he's been back. But yeah, we'll just see what next season brings, if they're gonna get a new keeper in or
Do you think we should have a new keeper?
whatever.
Do you think that's an area where we don't need to strengthen just yet?
No, I mean, I know that is it Dean Henderson, his
Yeah.
name's been thrown around a bit, but he can't get a game for Man United. So is he really worth having? Is he worth taking on? I don't know, but yeah, I think Martin Dubravka's had a good season.
I'm laughing at your dog. You're going to get the dog on camera.
Yeah, I know she's a sod. Olive, you
Nope.
just seen a bum. I'm sorry,
That's fine. Don't worry. What would you score Dubravka then out of 10?
but I'll say about the 7.
I think that's fair. I think
Yeah,
there has been a couple of times where he could do a little better. I think that's in his
Mhm.
game. There is a mistake in him. But however, since the march of the Premier League since January, really how good the defense has been.
Yeah,
Dubravka's not getting peppered left, right, and centre. He's not having 5 or 6 shots at goal at him on target. He's only having to deal with a couple now, which is good. And that's probably a sign of the defense and how well they've done. I would agree with that with Martin Dubravka 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's a good score that. I'm going to bring up Carl Darlow, who had an unreal season the season before, and I thought it was a little bit hard on him losing his place to Dubravka, but Darlow's been second fiddle. Obviously, he did have a spell in the nets early on in the season, but as soon as Dubravka was fit, I think you all know that Dubravka's number one with Carl Darlow. I don't think Darlow's been. I'm torn between. I'm going to go 6 out of 10 for Carl Darlow. There is rumours that he could be on his way, but I think he's a perfect number 2 if he does stick around. I just don't feel that Newcastle need to go and strengthen the goalkeeper just yet. I think there is other areas of the pitch where we can look at. I don't think goalkeeper where you think, oh, we've got to go and get a goalkeeper. I think
yeah.
that can wait a little bit. But what's your overall thoughts on Darlow?
And exactly like you, he had a really good season last season when Dubravka was injured, and then to me he had COVID, and then he came back and was like a different. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he just like when Dubravka was fit, he lost his confidence because he knew he was going to lose his place to Dubravka. Um, but yeah, I've said yeah 6 out of 10 for Darlow this season. We haven't seen a lot of him, so yeah, 6 out of 10. And like I said before, I don't think a goalkeeper's spending however much on a goalkeeper is really something that we need to do. We could
And if
think
you
of there's loads more places in the pitch to strengthen than spending however many million on a goalkeeper for me.
and if you sell Darlow, I don't think you're gonna get much. I really don't.
No, no.
I
I
don't.
mean, I think that giving Darlow a chance to go to
Take a chance.
Middlesbrough and
Yeah.
yeah, and letting him get game time, probably what he wants as well. But yeah,
This one's quite a tough one, and I think we should give him a non-applicable Mark Gillespie. just because has he played like a cup game? You know, he did at the start of the season, but you can't really judge Gillespie. Really, he's happy to stick around third choice. Or we're both agreeing we're just going to go non-applicable for him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not even for me. He wasn't even number 3 when Carl Darlow and Bravka were out. They put Freddie Woodman in, so he's not. He's
happy to be third choice, and he's like I say, he's going to tick that green box next season for being an English homegrown player, which you need. So yeah, Gillespie not going to get much action. Can't really rate him really because we haven't seen enough of him. But you've mentioned Freddie Woodman a couple of times though. Obviously, he's went out with low in the second part of the season. Couldn't get any game time for Bournemouth, which is worrying considering we had high expectations of Freddie Woodman. But when he got his chance at the start of the season, what happened to him?
I think it was just confidence. You know, it was he had so much pressure on him. Then first few games of the season, it was his Premier League debut, and for the Newcastle team that they had at the time, the defence that they had, yeah, I think he just wasn't confident enough, and the defence weren't helping him out at all. So, for me, he'd probably be a decent number 3, but I don't know what a 5 to be nice, but he just hasn't had the chance, and yeah,
Freddie Woodman is, I think, out of all the 4 goalkeepers that we just talked about there, I think he's the one that's more than likely to leave. Freddie Woodman. So Grace is going to score him a 5 out of 10. I thought he was awful at Old Trafford when I was there. Those 2 goals with Ronaldo just stand out.
Yeah,
it's just for me, and you've got to save them if you're going to be claiming Newcastle's number 1 goalkeeper for the rest of the season. But Freddie Woodman will score bang average, slap down the mingle 5. Didn't. The thing is though, when he was in the net for 3 or 4 games, he wasn't even making saves that keeping Newcastle in the game, and that's what you've got to do as a goalkeeper. So it's frustrating. But I think a lot of people in the comments are just scoring him even lower than that. But well, there's a 6 there. He's not a top 6 keeper. Oh, sorry, he's not a top 6 keeper. Yeah. Sorry, really. I would agree. I think if he's struggling to get in a high-end Bournemouth side, that tells you its own story, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to give you another one. This one's an easier one for you. Kieran Trippier. What an influence on and off the pitch.
Do you know what? He's just come and he's just fitted absolutely straight into that squad from coming in January. What a signing as well to start the new Newcastle, the takeover, everything. And yeah, since he's been on 8 out of 10 for me. His influence on the pitch when he was injured, he was going every away game and pulling the team on. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. He's been an absolute cracking signing, and I'll be surprised if he's not captain next season. I really will.
I think if he played every game, I think that score will even be higher because he obviously was out injured, which probably knocks his score down a little bit. But the influence that Kieran Trippier has had, obviously, as soon as he came in, he's a leader, he's a talker. Yeah. He encouraged you on the pitch as well. You can just see that being in the stadium. He scored those 2 free kicks, which picked up Newcastle points. And even off the pitch as well, he was in the dressing room. He was on his crutches. He was still coming. It was fantastic. And he obviously came towards the end of the season, back into the side, back from injury. And it's great to see. And I'm so looking forward to him next season because we haven't had a decent right back probably since Debuchy had that 1 good season.
Yeah.
And Kieran Trippier, when we look at next season, look at all the squad, you think, yeah, Kieran Trippier's at right back. That's class. That I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, fantastic. 8 out of 10 for Kieran Trippier. Now, a season of 2 halves for Emil Kraft.
Yeah.
Because he has massively improved, and I was shocked at the improvement that he has. Because every time I've seen Emil Kraft, whether he was coming in at right centre back or whether he was starting in his usual right back position, I was like, I was like, oh Christ, here again.
Yeah.
Put up a pacey winger up against him and he'll rattle him. And in all honesty, I think it has to be Eddie Howe and his coaching staff have worked so hard at his game defensively. Look, I still think there's a lot of flaws in Emil Kraft. I think he has had a purple patch where he's a bit on form. But based it over the first and second half of the season, barely got a kick. Bailey was in the team. Mancio was keeping him out. I'm going to give Kraft a 7 out of 10 for overall. I think the reason why I'm scoring him a 7 is because the back end, the final third of the season, he's at 8 or 9 for me. But judging over the whole of the season, I'm going to score Emil Kraft a 7 out of 10. What do you make of his improvement, Grace?
Do you know what? Like, I honestly, I cannot speechless. I cannot believe the improvements. And like then, the last game of the season, I was honestly shocked to see Trippier lose his place to him because he played that well. But yeah, you've got to give Eddie Howe credit. Every single player he's brought on, and the change in him was absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, I was shocked to see him lose his place the final game of the season to Kieran Trippier because he played that well.
Yeah, that's probably harsh on him. Obviously, Trippier started against Burnley. I thought it was mad because I said it in the preview. It's mad. It's mad. Even saying that. Even to saying, oh, Emil Kraft over Trippier because of the form, and it was harsh on him. But obviously, Trippier did start Newcastle, got the win, of course. So it's nice to talk positively about Emil Kraft for change. So 7 out of 10 for me over the course of the whole of the season. Javier Mancio is an interesting one because there's a couple of bright spots. Obviously, scored at Old Trafford, if you remember, on that overlap run. Yeah. When he came off the bench again away to Leeds, what a performance! I think that's his best performance. Yeah. Offensively, he was at left back. He was sensational, but he's let you can't really say he's let you down too many times. I think the Spurs game when we got absolutely hammered, he was positionally out, fall for a couple of them, but he's now dropped down to effectively third choice. I've got 2 questions for you. Would you keep him first of all, and what would you score him overall?
I don't know if I'd keep him. He's too hitty missy. And he's third choice now. He's just to be fair, I'm probably going to give him a 6, and that's me being really generous for the few good games that he did have. But I think for him as well, he's third choice. He's probably like getting a game. He's not going to get above Kieran Trippier. He's not going to get above Emil Kraft. So. Yeah, if the opportunity comes, I would probably sell him. I really would.
It's interesting because you can also fill in a left back that might just keep the club its versatility, especially if Matt Ritchie goes out the door, which we are expecting, and we don't even know what's happened with the left back situation. We're signing a target, or we're going for the Brazilian Lodi. We don't know yet, but yeah, a lot of people are saying 6s here, so they're agreeing 6.5, a 5. 6, yeah. So you can see everyone's agreeing with you there, Grace. So yeah, I would agree. I think I don't think you can say, oh, he's bad today. You haven't really said that, but
no.
Third choice. Yeah, it's a shame for him, but he's potentially might be moving on. Now the next fella, good looking bloke, Fabian Schär, bit of a ladies' man, but he's turned that around. Again, Steve Bruce just didn't fancy him. And the turnaround, and it's probably a common theme in this video, Grace, that we're going to talk about a few players.
Yeah.
His form since January has been sensational. Unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, Fabian Schär, straight in that if I'm going to put a team together, he's the first one in for me. What a season he's had! Like what a season from January he's had. Sad to see him not play last game of the season because of his head injury that he had at Arsenal, and what a head injury that was. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give him a 7. From January, Callum Wilson, first name on the sheet for me.
Well, I think you're being too harsh on a 7. It's your score.
I
think from January, I would score 9.5. I think it's been sensational.
Yeah.
First half, because we've got easy minds. We're going to forget what happened earlier in the season because it was so crap under Bruce, and it was probably crap under when we had caretaker Graham Jones, and then we had Bruce, and I said Bruce again, and then we had Howe few games. It was still poor until Christmas. So Fabian Schär since January 9.5 out of me. He was sensational, but overall we're basing this over 38 games. And he couldn't get in the side until November. So, but yeah, Fabian Schär, that scoreline, if he keeps his form, it will be so much higher next season. But yeah, so don't come at me. This is Grace. So pick on her. on that one. If you think
I'm being too cruel.
Shall we have a look? If you're being too cruel, there's an 8 by
yeah.
Dillian, assist to Willock. I forgot what match. 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
9 out of 10. 8 for me. 8. Steve 8. Yeah. So I think
I'm being so harsh.
You can change it if you want, or do you want to stick with
No,
no,
I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it.
7 out of 10 over the whole of the season. Remember,
over the whole of the season. Yeah.
This one's easy because I've only got to rate until January. Dan Burn, big Dan, beautiful Burn. Seen him in Blythe in the social club after we interviewed Olivia Bernard, and there's Dan Burn in the next club. I'm just going to go straight with it. 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I didn't want him signed. When I seen it, I was like, oh, really? Yes, I can get why we're signing him. It's a steady Eddie kind of player, but he's really, really impressed me with Fabian Schär, and he's literally took to like Duck, how Duck takes to water. What do you make of that partnership of him and Schär? Has it surprised you?
Do you know what? Dan Burn overall is surprised is when he signed in January. I was a bit like, how is that back four gonna work together? And then he came in and all just worked perfectly together. Yeah, I'll be excited to see what he brings next season. I really will. I've enjoyed watching him. 9 out of 10 for me as well. I think he's fitted in so well to that back line, and being a local lad, I think it's nice, isn't it? It's nice to see a local lad who started in the academy, is now gone and done his stuff, and then come back and is like vital in that first team.
Yeah, there's loads. Look at that, 8.5.
Yeah.
Winnie, however, we're not doing 7.5s because I don't want that coming in next season with the lads. No, either 9.5 or a 10 you're giving them. I'm not having 7.5s and 0.5. Have you? No. Steve, I'm going to call you out here. What is Steve just given there? A 7.5, Steve. Soccer, Steve. We need words, mate. We need words after that, because that is really low for Dan Burn. He's had a couple of shockers, yes, but overall, he has been absolutely sensational, Dan Burn. Like I say, I'm really, really surprised, and I'm pleased that he's proved me wrong. Next one's interesting. The captain, Jamal Lascelles, of course, when he was partnered with Kieran Clark for the first year of the Championship, the first Premier League season, great. His form's really dropped, and there's been calls to have him out the side for a good couple of years. And then he started the first half of the season, was undroppable, even though he was costing with the odd occasion a lapse of concentration. But again, the form of the previous two that I've just mentioned, Grace, Lascelles has to stick to the bench. Yes, he's had a couple of starts, but his season hasn't been the greatest, has it?
No, it hasn't, and he just kind of get a looking in that back four. Yeah, I do you know what? I don't know what to make of Lascelles, because there's moments where I think, yeah, you're decent. I mean, you're not a top of the Premier League side player at all. And there's times I just think, what are you doing on that? And what are you doing on that pitch? Like, you just don't fit into that back four at all. I thought he had a decent game against Burnley last game of the season. Yes, but then he's cost us a few own goals, and a few goals where he's lacked concentration and stuff like that. So, I'm going to give him a 6.
A 6.
And I would, I kind of see him being in the squad next season coming.
Do you think he'd be sold?
I don't know who would want him. Like, and I mean that, like, where who would want him? Where would he go? Down,
maybe Forest come up.
Yeah, I kind of see him. Yeah, it's a shame as well, because he has had a few like good games, but he's just not good enough. He's just not good enough. If we're aiming to be top of the league, top of the Premier League side, he's not good enough for it.
Like I can remember the Southampton one at home where we're 2-1 up, and he crunched, and I think it was Adam Armstrong, and he brings him down as well, and Ward-Prowse steps up and scores. And yeah, there's a few of them of Jamal Lascelles. I think he's in serious risk. We know Diego Carlos is obviously signed for Villa, but if Botman comes in, that'll knock Lascelles down to 4th choice, and he might not get any game time. But Lascelles has had a poor season. I think you're actually being kind on this one. With Lascelles giving him a 6. Federico Fernandez, who has been, when he was first bought, I was like, oh, Christ, for 6 million. But he's proved me the last couple of years that he can come in. He's been steady. Yes, he doesn't have the greatest pace. He's a leader. Didn't have the greatest first half of the season. Lack of concentration again. Goals were shipping in as well. I think he's had an awful season. You can't get on. And credit to him, because when I can't remember who it was against. It was a home game, and he came off at the bench quite early on. It might have even been the Norwich game when Clark got sent off. I might be wrong, but he was great. He came in. I thought, right, he's came in. Great game. I thought you'll then kick on and start a few, but he was back to the bench, and then he was injured. I just think it's been an awful season for him. This is the lowest mark so far. Federico Fernandez, a 4 out of 10. I don't know what's happened to the lad. And he's still got a year left on his deal. The Chronicles say that, which I was surprised at. I thought he was a free agent, but the Chronicles say he's got another year. Can't get in the side. He's what, 4th or 5th choice. I just don't think Eddie Howe fancies him. He's not. Him and Lascelles aren't ball-playing defenders, where the two lads that do start are. And is his future doubt, Grace?
Definitely. I kind of see him getting in that squad next season. I really kind of. He's not even, when you think of the Newcastle team and the players, he's not even a name that would first come, would even come to mind. Yeah, I kind of see him getting in next season at all. Yeah, I'm a 4. Completely agree with you. We haven't seen. He can't get in. He can't get in the side. Like,
I think he played the first, something like it was like 11, 12 games at the start, and then he came out and hasn't really came in. So it wasn't a problem between Fernandez and Jones, says Alan. Yeah, that was a good shout. But yeah, Federico Fernandez. Yeah, what's happened? Kind of, we might agree on. Are we scoring Paul Dummett here, or are we giving him a non-applicable because he's been practically injured for large chunks? Yeah. He's got a contract extension, which I was quite surprised a little bit about. What do you want to do with Dummett here? Do we score him non-applicable?
Yeah, he hasn't. He's had what, a few games this season.
4, 5.
He came on at Leeds when they won at Leeds in January, and then he went off injured. I'm sure he went off injured.
Yeah, he hasn't. That's a problem with him though. It's injuries with Dummett. It's just constantly injured with him. I mean, if he played a few games, we'll give him a scoreline, but Paul Dummett is non-applicable. But it's not a good mark having a non-applicable. Something's went wrong if you're scoring a non-applicable. So if any future players in our list get a non-applicable, that's because they haven't played for a certain reason. It's not a positive, it's a negative that we're not scoring them. So that's because of injuries. But Paul Dummett, non-applicable. I've got a funny feeling everybody in the comments right now will not rate Kieran Clark very highly. I'll give Fernandez a 4. I'd like to know what you lot think about Kieran Clark, because when he has played majority of the games, he's been shocking. The red card against Norwich, which at that time was a must-win game at that time.
Yeah.
Obviously, Joe Linton was brought in midfield, and the rest is history. So that's some positive out of that. But I thought we'd done well to get a point. And then when he came back in the side, it was at home, and he ducked, if you remember, and the ball goes over him.
Yeah.
And then the header, and Dubravka's got no chance. Miscommunication with Dubravka and him. He wasn't even registered for the second part of the 25-man squad. I think, Grace, we've got to score him low here.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe really generous at 2.
Wow, a 2, yeah.
Like, yeah, he's just, that red card at Norwich was absolutely disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. For me, he's gone in the summer like he's got to be. And then he got sent off when they went to Saudi in the
friendly
camp. He got a red and got sent off then. What is he? What goes through that bloke's mind? I will never know. I really won't.
And it wasn't like a foul; it was like a proper kick out, wasn't it?
It was like almost scrap. Well, I'm being a bit dramatic, but like almost scrapping on the pitch, basically in a friendly. Like, what is going through your mind? Yeah, I kind of see him. He won't be there this summer. He really won't. He shouldn't be. He absolutely shouldn't be.
Yeah, he'll be gone this summer. I thought we shouted out Kieran Clark. Yeah. Let's get back to positivity. I'm going to give you my target since January. What we're scoring him? What again? He's another one with like Dan Burn. I was like, oh, really? But he's proved everybody wrong. What a performance for 4 or 5 months.
Do you know what? In January when they're like, "Oh, we're taking Matt Tag out," I know, and I was like, "Really? Like, he's not a." I was like, and then what a season! What a season he has absolutely had. He has hit that back line. He has strengthened that so much. For me, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I kind of fault him. I really cannot. Him and Maxi, some of their link, or him and Ryan Fraser, some of their link ups has been absolutely outstanding, and I honestly would like to see him signed in the summer to him to join the squad and sign in the summer. I really would.
Yeah, he's been brilliant, and he surprised me defensively. He's probably one of the better left backs we've had in the last few years.
Yeah.
I know you said you want him to sign. I want him to sign. Do you think you
Yeah.
will? Do you think we'll go and splash the cash and get him?
I don't know. I really don't know, because at one point I was like, done deal. He is here, done deal. But that now stuff's moving on. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd be surprised if after seeing the season that he's had at Newcastle, I'm surprised Aston Villa don't want him back.
Yeah, they've got Lucadinha, haven't they? I know he's. I don't know if you've seen the interview on the pitch when Bruno comes over and goes, "This guy, get him signed. This guy." Yeah, Matty Target, 9 out of 10, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Will he be the long-term answer? Probably not, but for short and medium term, yeah. There's a left back, 15 million British English player. 15 million's nowadays in the world of football now. Yeah, Matt Ritchie has struggled, hasn't he? Yes. Found his position when Rafa switched him to left wing back, didn't he? And Bruce brought him in. Bruce has played him there as well. This season, yes, he had an injury which kept him out, but he has a consistent run of form. He started the season at left back, if you remember, and cost him goals at the back post. Remember the opening day of the season, West Ham springs to mind. It happened 3-4 times. He was costing goals because he's not a defender, and he was playing really, really poorly defensively. You know what you get going forward. You know what he brings. And then he lost his place when he came back from injury. He was on the bench for a good, what was the last 10 games or something like that? I think Matt Ritchie's had his worst season in a black and white shirt. I am torn between a 3 and a 4. That's how poor I think Matt Ritchie has been. You know what? I'm going with it.
I completely agree. He's just not.
Yeah.
He's just not a. Sounds bad. He's just not a Premier League player. Like, I'm sorry, he's Championship, if that. Yeah, I kind of see him being here, getting in the squad in the summer. Like he did. When Rafa had him, he was decent. He was good, but I just think the way, everything has evolved, he's just not to the standard, and not at the standard that Newcastle are wanting to go to and wanting to, qualify for Europe, win the league, stuff like that. He's not that standard.
You think about, you look at the bench and you see Matt Ritchie there, and he's not even getting used. No. Yes, I know he came on for a couple of minutes, but they're picking Jacob Murphy and Miggy over you. Yeah. And you're thinking, if those players are ahead of you, because Matt Ritchie's not going to be brought on to play left back. We know that. But if those players are ahead of you, you're troubled. So Matt Ritchie's had a really, really poor season. Jamal Lois is again another one. Do we give him a non-applicable, or do we score him based on the first half of the season, where Matt Ritchie was keeping him out on the side, ironically? Yeah. He did come in for about 4 or 5 games. He had a really good run of form, and then he gets injured. It's just bad luck. And because of that injury, Eddie Howe's just not risking selecting him in the 25-man squad. So shall we score him based on the first half?
If it's based on the first half, it's going to be low. I just don't.
He can't be more than Ritchie.
No. I just kind of, once again, he's not a name I think about. When I think about the Newcastle squad, he is not a name that I think about that I would even put into a squad. 2, and that's
and it's harsh because we want him to do well. He's a young lad. we didn't score in the players video the other, not scoring the players, the keep Salah loan. I'd loan him out for a season, mate. Just get him some confidence. It seems very much like a confident player. I get the vibe that he's one of those lads that you need to put your arm around him and look after him and give him a bit of, "Howie lad, you can do this," a bit of confidence. Disastrous season for him, absolutely disastrous. And big things hoping of him, and big summer ahead of him. He's got to impress when he comes back from his injury. He'll be back now from his injury, but when pre-season comes, you need the big pre-season to impress him.
Yeah,
that was a negative. But Grace, I'm going to give you some more positivity now. We don't talk about Bruno, but we are today. Tell me all about him.
I absolutely love Bruno. He's just. Do you know what I like about him as well? He's just a nice bloke. Like all of his interviews, the way he talks about the fans, the way he talks about the club, everything. He is just an overall really nice bloke, and like he absolutely finished the January transfer window perfectly. He was like the cherry on top of the cake, wasn't he, when he came?
Yeah,
and he has brought that midfield, because with Bruce was more like defensive, wasn't he? Everyone was like defensive, whereas with Bruno, with Joe Linton, and like Joe Willock, they're more of attacking midfield, and they bring the play forward. And Bruno's just fitted in absolutely perfectly, and his goals have been amazing. 10 out of 10 for me. I cannot fault that bloke at all. I kind of fault him. I really cannot.
10 out of 10 for Bruno. And
10 out of 10.
There was all big expectations. I think, we kind of wait to see him, because we didn't really know much about him, let's be honest.
No.
I think the only person was Steve, who's in the chat, because he's been on the channel, talked about him. And he's came and he's like literally blew up the Premier League. And it wouldn't be surprised me some of the big guns in Europe will just want to look at him. Because he came in, and obviously his goal at Southampton, that flick, and the diving header. I mean, he came in, we just thought he was a sitting midfielder, but he's been getting forward, getting goals. He's the second top scorer. That tells you everything behind Wilson. 5 goals, and doesn't like a tap in, does he? He likes to score a couple of worldies. And I think, and he's got Newcastle really, really quickly for a foreigner to come in. And he's seen the pictures with the time bridges, and Lucas Paquetá came over a couple of times, his pal, and he's obviously been interacting on Twitter. And I like the fact when we got battered off Man City, he came out and said, "Do you know what, fans? That's not good enough. We'll be better next season." He's taking it on, kind of like a leader. He's a bit of a cheeky chappy, isn't he? You get that vibe. He's cheeky chappy. He's taking the lead, and not just that. He's like, when he's on the ball, man, you can hold players off, and the knowledge what's around him. His head, he's like an owl. You can see everything around him. I cannot wait for next season, a full season with him. So Bruno Gomes gets a 10 out of 10 for Grace, and I cannot say anyone else scoring that high. I'm going to be honest going forward after this.
Yeah.
From probably from February to May, he's been literally that high. Yeah.
He's been absolutely amazing. And like, I think that everyone was like, "Oh, why is he? He's a bench warmer." When he first came, so he wasn't getting the game. But I think Eddie Howe did the right thing by letting him watch the game, watch the Premier League. This is what we do. This is how I like to do it. And then as soon as he came in, and he cannot lose his spot. That midfield, like, absolutely spot on.
Bullshark's giving you a 10 out of 10. So you're getting a 10 out of 10. We'll move on to the next one. It's Joe Shelvey, who I think has had a good season. One of his better ones since he's been in the club for 6 years now. And it's strange because under Rafa, you would pick the ball off the defence and ping it 60 yards. Yeah. And then he came out strangely, maybe he's just saying it to get in the team, that Bruce is one of the best managers one-on-one. He's worked with man management. I found that bizarre. And then since Eddie Howe's come in, I think his game's gone up a level. He's not picking the ball off the defence. He's not pinging it 60 yards. He's high pressing. And people say he doesn't work hard. Well, the stats prove he does. He's doing a lot of running in that midfield 3. I think Joe Shelvey, 70. I'm going to go 7.5 out of 10 for this one. I'm torn between 7 and an 8. So I'm going to go 7.5. And I think it's healthy competition now. We've gotten set midfield. 12 months ago, we were worried about it. You know, you've got Joe Linton there now, you've got Shelvey there, you've got Bruno, you've got Willock, you've got Sean maybe off the bench. Isaac Hayden might come in, register next season. So it's healthy competition. I think his game has gone up a level. He's one of the better players that Eddie Howe has improved on. And I think the England World Cup squad is too far. I think that's too much. I think England have too much quality. But Shelvey, for us, will be a key player next season. We win more games with him in the side than we do out. So big things of him next season. I'm going to give you another one because I'm nice.
Okay.
Joe Linton. What a turnaround.
Yeah. What a like honestly, you watch him and you're like, am I watching the same bloke who I watched last season? Because do you know what, for me with Joe Linton, I think last season there was so much pressure on him being a striker, and that's what he was bought for. He was bought as a striker, and I just think it was so much pressure on him being a striker. And I think Eddie Howe came in, dropped him into midfield, being the big unit that he is. He's like, I don't even have the words to describe him. He's absolutely like turned around so much. And do you know what? I'm glad to see it as well, because he's a nice bloke. When you watch his interviews and stuff, he seems like a really nice bloke as well. 9 out of 10. I'll say 9 out of 10 for just. I just said 8, but from January, from Eddie Howe coming, his turnaround and his confidence, and you know, taking on people in midfield, no one can get past. Like, no one can really get past him.
And he wins the ball so well.
Yeah, and his stats now are like off the charts, aren't they, for him winning the ball possession?
Yeah, he's been a massive turnaround from in the Newcastle shirt, and he's loved now. And I love that. I love that relation, because it was a bit of hostility between fans and players. Oh, get out of a club, get out. And now it's completely different. It's like everybody sings about him. Everybody loves him. He's got flags. He's embracing it. He's taking it on. And if his form continues at the start of the season into winter, and the World Cup's in December this year, if Bruno's getting in that side, and if Joe Linton's matching, he's got to be looked at the very least. He's just, the manager of Brazil's just got to look at him and think, well, let's call him up. Let's see what he's about. Because I've followed Newcastle since '95, being a proper little kid. I haven't seen a turnaround as big as this in 30 years. Well, nearly 30 years. Well, 26 years. I'm not seen a turnaround as big as that. I've not seen someone come laughed at, ridiculed, because he was a laughing stock. And I said this the other day, is that other pundits and other fans of other clubs are now noticing he's a key player for us. I kind of talk highly of him. We did a documentary on him. That's how much love that we've got from him. Joe Linton is a massive turnaround, and I think he would have been a 10 out of 10 if this was based over all of the season, I think.
Yeah.
And do you think he deserves player of the season overall from what the club give him, what the players give him?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Out of looking at that squad, the most improved is him. I think for some of it, he has like carried that team quite a bit. He is, for the World Cup coming in the winter. Like, his name has to be mentioned, or he has to have a call up after looking. If he carries on the way he has that second half of the season, I completely agree. His name will be in that for the Brazil World Cup. Absolutely.
Can't wait. I hope to say, because it'll be a huge thing for him and us as fans. Willock it's an interesting one with him, because last season he's scoring goals for fun in the back end, made that permanent. I think everybody wanted it permanent. Obviously, we're paying it in installments. Well, that's Mike Ashley for you at the time. Yeah. I think he struggled for form a little bit under Bruce at the start. He was obviously getting. Why wasn't he getting in the end of things? Why wasn't he given the license to get forward? Yeah. He's been on the bench a few games. He started a few games as well. Had a good run of form. Remember the goal against Brentford? He scored one just before then as well. Got in the side. Obviously, he kept Bruno out the side because it was either him or Bruno. Made Bruno sit on the bench for 3-4 games. And then obviously got injured towards the end of the season. But what do you make of overall his season?
I mean, like, Joe Willock is one of my favourite players, but the season compared to the season that he had last season and the season that he's had this season, he hasn't, for his goals and stuff, it hasn't been great for him. I don't know if it's his first season being signed and being in Newcastle place just being a bit rocky for him. Maybe adjusting to living up north and being away from his family because he's only a young lad as well. Maybe that's played a little part in his confidence and his, and stuff like that. But yeah, I think. But when he was in midfield for them games we were winning, and Bruno couldn't get in for him, you kind of fault him for that. I thought he was really, really, really good. So for me, I'm gonna say 7.
7 out of 10 for Joe. And he also presses high. A lot of people don't say that off the ball. And obviously that Bruno header at St James Park against Leicester, it's Willock who makes that goal because he does the Dublin halfway line and runs and awareness to pick out Bruno diving header. So Joe Willock will get a 7 out of 10. The next one, it's a difficult one for this one because he has signed a new contract. Struggles to get in the side. Yes, the back end of the season, he was getting in the side, but I think he's had a poor season. Sean Longstaff. I said it the other night, I'd probably sell him as well, even though he is a local lad. He's a Geordie through and through. I think he's effectively fifth choice, and I think he will be fifth choice going into next season after pre-season as well. I think he's had a really, really poor season. And even when I was down Norwich and we won them, we thumped them, Sean Longstaff didn't have a good game against, a lesser caliber players. I'm probably being harsh on him because I am harsh on probably homegrown players more because I want them to do more. I want them to exceed. But I just think Sean Longstaff has had a really poor season, and I'm going to score him a 4 out of 10. Do you think I'm being harsh?
Yeah, definitely. For me, he hasn't had a great season, but then that game against Chelsea that they played and he was in midfield, I thought he was decent. I thought that was probably the best game he's had this season. I know one game out with the full isn't the best, but I think he played really, really well in the Chelsea. Give him another season. Give him one more season. I know he's just signed a new deal, but give him one more season. Give Eddie Howe a chance to see if he can pull him through, pull him up a little bit, see what happens. But it's a shame because there's not a lot of local footballers out there from the northeast.
Talent, isn't there? It's not there, the talent.
So for me, having a local lad in the squad, I like that, but for me, give him another season, see what happens for me. See how he plays next season. If he's not any better, then I think it's probably his time to go. But yeah, I said 4 or 5.
Yeah. So Sean Longstaff gets a 4 from me. Normally around the hour mark, it's a common thing in this Grace, my webcam starts to lag for a couple of minutes. So it's not me internet, it's
fine.
the webcam. I was on 15 minutes prior. It'll fix itself in a couple of minutes. Isaac Hayden is the next one, obviously injured. So Eddie Howe didn't put him in the 25-man squad. Very versatile. He's the only real out-and-out defensive centre midfielder we've got. But he's also filled in at centre-back. He's filled in at right-back at times and never looked out of place. There is one or two hints from his personal Twitter that looks like it could be on his way. But what do you make of his season?
It hasn't. He probably hasn't had the season that he wanted to. He's been injured for quite a bit, and the few games he played, he wasn't great. I don't know. Probably give him a few games pre-season, see how he gets on. But it's just not a role for him. He's just not going to get in. Joe Linton, Bruno, Joe Willock, Shelvey. He's just not going to get a butt in before them for me.
Yeah, it's a tough one to give Isaac Hayden what to score him. I'm looking at the comments and a lot of 2s and 3s and 6s and 4s. It's kind of like, obviously he did score away to Brighton. That was a good night out with Brandon, that actually, wasn't it? When I was down there. Do you know what? If Isaac Hayden, judge on the first half of the season, I'm going to score him a 5 because he is versatile and he rarely has a poor game. But then he was injured and didn't get selected, so it's probably his worst mark that he's had at Newcastle since he's joined in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
But that goes to show you the consistency of Isaac Hayden. You're going to laugh at this one because he couldn't get a game for QPR very towards the end. Only played 3 games for us, but did score against Wolves, funny enough. Just you need to get him out the club, don't we?
Yeah, he's days are numbered. I can't get him for QPR. I'm sorry, but like he is lower Championship level, League One. He's just not good enough. Absolutely not good. I know I'm being harsh, but yeah, he's just not good enough. He's just I don't even know what to say about him. I really don't.
I'm gonna score him for you. I'm gonna give him a 1 out of 10. He's the worst one. Is he worse than Kieran Clark? Maybe not to extent because he hasn't done any injuries. He just doesn't offer one out. I would have scored him a non-pickup. Yes.
Yeah.
If you can't get in the QPR site, I mean, what's happening there? And but the only thing, credit to him, he has said that he doesn't want to sit around and pick up his wages at Newcastle. He wants to go out and play. So I like that. Mm-hmm. But I think he'll be heading out the door. He's not even a Premier League player. I think all right. I think he's a lower end Championship player. And how he gets in that Irish squad, I just don't know. I just really don't know. Next one is Matty Longstaff, who's actually just played for Mansfield, literally just half an hour ago, and they've been beaten 3-0. Regular, scoring goals down there. But should we give him a non-applicable because he didn't feature for Newcastle?
Yeah.
What do you make of his feature, though? What do you do with him?
The Mansfield not want him.
Well, they're not going to get promoted now. He's better than League 2, isn't he?
Yeah, he's better than League 2. I just don't. He's just not he's just like Jeff Hendrick. He's just not a Premier League player. He's a lower Championship player for me. And if I was him, I'd be going on loan somewhere. See if we can get another loan spell so he's getting these games. Yeah, I don't really know what. If we've never seen him, I don't really know what to say on him.
Yeah. Miguel Miran is the next one. Again, quite similar. A lot of players struggled first half of the season. Probably struggled towards really till March, really. And then he just came alive, didn't he? When Fraser got injured and he got that position and scored, obviously, as a contender for goal of the season. Partly made by Bruno, of course. But for me, 0 assists and 1 goal all season. That simply is not good enough for me. You know, he's more of a bench player now at Newcastle. I think that's what he will be, even going forward, because I think we will strengthen. But with Miggy, I just think it's been a poor season, a really poor season. I expected more of him. I really did expect more of him. However, you've got to consider towards the last 6-7 games of the season, he has been really good. But I'm not convinced I should score him high at all. Where would you put him, Grace?
6, 5.5, 6. He hasn't had. I mean, do you know what? If every player had his, I'll say his work ethic, like the way he runs around the pitch, and like we would be what a team we'd have. But he just, for me, sometimes he just runs around and like doesn't seem to like do anything, or you know, but but since Ryan Fraser's been injured and he's getting the last few games, he's been decent. He hasn't been outstanding. He's been decent. Yeah, he just hasn't got. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. I like him as a bloke, and I think his work ethic and his, he works hard for the team. He works hard when he plays. But yeah, I don't know.
He needs more work and product. Yeah. Again, I don't think he's a Premier League player. I think he's a Championship player. That's again probably being harsh. I think the next player is a Championship player as well. Is Jacob Murphy, who you kind of look at it and think, okay, if we're scoring Miggy a 6, has Murphy done better than Almiron? I keep thinking, you said 3 1-on-1s, 3-4-4 1-on-1s. He hasn't put any of them away. Who's the better player, Almiron or Murphy?
I would say Miran.
Yeah. So
Murphy doesn't. He just doesn't offer a lot either.
I think Murphy. I think Murphy has better end product in terms of crossing that way, getting his head up. But everything else with Murphy's just got pace. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's just, I can't, if we're scoring, I don't think Murphy's way down than what Almiron is. I think it's only just, I think it's marginal. Do you know what? I'll score Murphy and I'll give him a 5.5. I think me probably just beats him, but in all honesty, I don't want either winger at the club. I just don't think I can understand squad depth. You're probably going to keep one of them. But for me, if I had my way, I'll get rid of both of them. I just don't think that they're good enough for me. A 7 for Murphy. Wow, Tomo. Murphy a 3, a 4. Murphy's a bit greedy. Murphy a 5, 5.5. Yeah, a 6, a 4. So the averaging about what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. We'll move on to Ryan Fraser, who bizarrely was playing centre midfield under Bruce, if you remember at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Strangely. And funny enough, when he gets put on the wing and gets a consistent run of games, he can show you what he can do. I still think there's a bit more to come from him, but he's looked a different player again since Eddie Howe come in. His injury has knocked him back a little bit, but what would you give Fraser, and how do you think his season's been?
I'm going to give Fraser a 6.5. I think since Eddie Howe came in, he had that good spell. He was really good on the wing. Then he's been injured, and I think that it's just been lacking on the side since he has gone, and I think that shows you how much he has offered. Do you know what? I'm not 100% sure on Ryan Fraser. I think in the summer, if we could sign someone better on that side,
I'll definitely give him at least a squad player, because I think he has shown a lot of promise on the wing, and I love the fact that, especially when he's on the left, because the ASM normally plays there. I love the fact that when he's on the left, he wants to get the ball on the right and clip it in. He wants to cross. And I love that. I love that. It's just, right, let's get the ball in. That's my first thought. I'm going to get this ball in. I'm going to get it in. I'm going to cause a danger. Callum Wilson obviously linked up with Fraser and Bournemouth, and he would have loved that if Callum Wilson was fit. So Fraser, it's probably 6.5, 7. But it's similar. From keeper match fit, there's a player there that Newcastle could use. They really could. So 6.5 for Ryan Fraser. This one might be interesting because it does cause a lot of debate. You've probably seen it, Grace, on Twitter.
Yeah.
But, he gets a lot of stick when Newcastle don't do that great. And obviously, the first half of the season, he was mostly our outlet, him and Wilson, because we were very defensive. We were very deep. Give it, literally, Bruce's tactic. Give it to Alan, hope for the best. Literally. But he ended up scoring with 4 goals at the first half of the season. And then as the team were getting a lot more possession, a lot more ball. We're bringing the likes of better caliber player like Bruno. I think he struggled a little bit more because he's still trying to do it. I'll do it all on my own. And I think we've got to learn a little bit that, we're a more attacking team now, a more higher pressing team. We're having the ball a lot more. He's got to learn just to, a simple back pass to Matty Target and cross it in might be the best end product. So, you don't get rid of him. I don't care what anybody says. You do not get rid of Alan Saint-Maximin. He has to be here next season. But is it a case of 2 halves of the season? Do you know the second half of the season, Grace? Do you think fans are too harsh on him?
I think that, yes, 100%. Everyone, the lose, it's Saint-Maximin's fault. There's another 10 players on that pitch who have cost us the game as well. I think that anything goes wrong in the game, he's the first one to get blamed, and it's not. And it's not on really when there's another 10 people who are playing as well. And then I think he got loads of stick when that article came out and he said what he said, which was taken out of context, and that was there for clickbait. That's all that was there for. I think next season, hopefully now he because I do think with Bruce, it was down to him and Callum Wilson, wasn't it? It's probably why he's a little bit greedy and doesn't pass it back. But hopefully next season, when we get, Bruno, Joelinton in midfield, maybe another striker in, he will cross it back. He's not, for me, he's not a player to sell either. I think he does. He offers a bit. He'll run. He will try and take on defence. He is looking for goal from time to time. Maybe
Can it be coached? Do you know what I mean by that? Where he's trying to do? I'm going to take on 2 or 3 players. Can that be coached? Where instead of taking on 2 or 3, you'll just take on 1, and then that'll free up space because obviously that'll pull a defender out, and then he slots into a Wilson or a Chris Wood. Can that be coached?
I think so. I think he's just been his mindset is probably what's been thingied into him by Bruce for the last however long. It probably might take a little bit. Now he has got decent players around him now, so he might think more about passing it back, whereas before he didn't have that. But yeah, I just think he just gets too much stick. Everything, it's his fault. There's another 10 players on that pitch. So I'm gonna give him a 7.5 for this season.
I think that's about fair. I do. No. I think first half of the season I probably would have scored an 8.5, 9. Second half of the season he has shown glimmer of what he can bring. I think he's had a poor end of the season. Don't get me wrong. But against Arsenal, his discipline of letting the ball go and passing it back was much more better. He has tried to track back a couple of times. I've noticed that as well. That must be being taught into him. He cost a goal at Manchester City, yes, but he's learning to get back, and he's got to see more of that because Matty Target, we're scoring him high, and that's hardly any help from ESM as well, getting back. So more of it. But yeah, ESM is 7.5 out of 10, and that's probably a lot of people saying he's had a poor season, and we're still scoring him a fairly good mark, a 7.5 out of 10. That's how it goes to show you can't get rid of him. You can't get rid of him. I think it can be coached into him that, yes, you don't need to go past 3 or 4 players and lose the ball. He's got to stop fanning around inside his own half. That's the one thing I will say about him. Stop doing that. Just pass, move. That's it. But yeah, ESM 7.5. And we've got 3 players left, which are the 3 strikers. Callum Wilson. I want to know how you scored that goal. So, good start the season. Injured for a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
Came back toward the final end of the season. Great to see him back. You can see instantly different style of football, what we play with him in the side, because he's got a bit of muscle about him. He can stretch the defence. He's got a bit of pace. He's got that nous in the box. 3 goals in his last 2 games. What would you score him? Top scorer.
I'm going to say top scorer. I'm going to say 8.5. Just because he's been injured, and been injured for quite a bit, and he is quite injury prone. And maybe I read someone was saying it's because the level of fitness under Bruce wasn't very good, so that's what's costing him his injury. So maybe now Eddie Howe's more about fitness and more, he might not be as injury prone. And Callum Wilson be wanting a World Cup place, won't he? He'd be wanting that. That's the aim, isn't it? For him, he'd be wanting a World Cup place. So I'm looking forward to seeing him full fitness next season. And he's a nightmare for at Arsenal at home. He was a nightmare for Arsenal's defence, an absolute nightmare. So next season. It'd be glad to see him back.
Yeah, there's a lot of green 8s and 9s, and I've seen a 10 just before as well. It's just the injuries, and he's getting that age now. He's just in 29, so he's probably going to have to adapt his game when his pace starts to go. So you'll have a couple of years, but his legs will go in the next couple of years. But yeah, Callum Wilson, if we can have him free, he would have been probably a 10s, potentially 9s and 10s if we have him fully fit. But you missed a good 3 or 4 months of the season, and we need another striker signed. We know that. That's for a video for another day. But yeah, great scoreline for Callum Wilson. Chris Wood's an interesting one because he was brought in because we lost Callum Wilson. People might give him a high mark because we're relegated Burnley. Whether you believe that is true or not, maybe true. Got a couple of goals. Won himself a penalty against Wolves. Took it and scored. Scored as just the 2 goals, but we did go on that run of 9 unbeaten with him in the side. Fantastic holding the ball up. You can come really, really deep, and you can play it in as well. He set up a couple of counter-attacks by turning as well, but goals is what you judged on, aren't you, Grace?
For a striker, yeah, and he hasn't. Something just hasn't clicked from it at Newcastle. I think that we needed a striker in that transfer window, and there he was at Burnley, get his release clause. We've got his release clause. We had a striker, and he just hasn't. He just hasn't. He just never. Something just didn't click for him at Newcastle, which is a shame. But his overall play, I think it's been like
It's
decent.
decent.
He's a decent. Like, I'm not scoring goals. He's a decent player. Like, he track back. He'll chase the ball. He will get in defence if needed. And then we went on that run of games with him in the team. So for that, I'm gonna say 8.
Yeah. Don't forget to smash that like button and smash it for Grace on our first video here on NFTV. So please do. That's Brandon, one of our NFTV lot. So please do. So you're scoring him an 8 out of 10. I think that's because of the impact that he brought to the side rather than his goals. I would have gone probably lower, but I'm not going to argue. I think the impact that he's brought the squad is massive. I think that's what we are forgetting, that Newcastle went on a hell of a run with Chris Wood on the side, and look where Burnley are. I bet Burnley, might have had an extra 3-4 points, and that would have kept them up. But we've pinched him, and Chris Wood, whether he stays at Newcastle long term, probably not. But yeah, Chris Wood, 8 out of 10. Dwight Gail, don't expect him to score very high. Barely featured, gets 3-4 minutes. Even when there's a cup game, he doesn't even start them. I mean, what's the lad got to do to get in the starting lineup? And not just that, ESM's played up top when the striker hasn't been available. Dwight Gale's not even fancied, and it's not just him. Rafa didn't fancy him. Steve Bruce didn't. Eddie Howe didn't. It's been a really, really poor season in terms of game time for him. What has he brought?
Not a lot. I think it's his time to go as well. He just doesn't. I don't. But then you can argue that we've never seen him. He's never had the chance to play. So how do we know? But yeah, I think it's his time.
Even last season, he wasn't. I know he scored against West Brom last season, but even last season is exactly the same. The two seasons have been a carbon copy for him. I'm going to go really, really low.
Yeah,
I think he's only played about 10 games. And you probably, if you tot all the minutes up, you're probably only talking a couple of matches. Not even that. It's only equivalent to 2 matches. But Dwight Gale's future is out of the club. But unfortunately, every time we used to loan him out, we used to make him sign a contract extension. We seem to be stuck in his, for his career, he needs to go out and play football. And he's in his 30s now, so he's catching me up. So he needs to go out and play some championship football. And
yeah.
But Dwight Gale gets 2 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for bench warming, someone's just said. The last one I'm going to do is the manager. We'll do both. So we'll do both for the crack.
Yeah.
Let's do Steve Bruce. We didn't win a game, if you remember. 8 league games, 1 League Cup game, which got put out in penalties. So we just go for this. I think it's easy, mate. I think we'll go 0.
Yeah, there's no arguments about that. Do you know what? Actually, I've got nowhere to say, Bruce. I absolutely don't. Look what he's done at West Brom.
Well, yeah. And as
he's just. I don't know. I really don't know what to say about him. He's had West Brom mid of the table, quite high up the table now.
I think we're in the playoffs. I think we're in the playoffs.
And then he's gone in, and
he's already trying to defend himself already at West Brom as well by saying, "Look, I need more time in all this nonsense." And I know they just signed somebody, but they let Andy Carroll go as well. But yeah, the less said about him, the better. Talk to me about Eddie Howe.
Do you know what? When Eddie Howe's name was thrown, I mean, we had all these big names thrown about who was going to be the new manager, who were they going to have all this money, who they're going to bring in, And then to bring a bloke like Eddie Howe in, I think everyone was a little bit shocked because he's had a couple of, I mean, he had that cracking spell at Bournemouth, and then he had himself some time out and stuff, and then he's come back to Newcastle, and what a bloke! Like, what a bloke he is. Even like when you see him in press conferences, press conferences, his aftermatch, his post-match, he is just the way he conducts himself. He's just outstanding, isn't he? Absolutely outstanding, and you can tell that from his stats. His stats that he's had, what he's managed to do with players who we were written off, absolutely written off. If
you look at the league tables, when he took over, we would have finished 6th. When the January transfer window closed, if the league restarted, we would have finished 3rd. And he's up for manager of the season. The last time someone was Alan Pardew when he won it, when we finished 5th. So if we're taking Newcastle, where he took over, we were 5 points adrift, and then to finish just outside the top 10 is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think there's only one answer for that.
There's only one answer.
It has to be
Definitely.
10 out of 10. And now the expectations of Grace will go up a notch because he's done so well. You know, if Newcastle, where's realistic for us next season? Is it comfortable top 10 where we don't need to worry about like what's behind us, or are you more ambitious where you want European football?
What, we were 7 points? It was 7 points a season from European football, and that was losing the first 14 games.
Not winning any.
So not winning any, and we're 7 points. So I might be a little bit ambitious, but I will honestly be surprised if we don't have a Europe spot next season. I think we'll be 7 or 6.
Wow.
I know it's ambitious, but like 7 points away this season, and we couldn't win a game at the start. So
and the squad should get better. I'm with Mike on that one. I think comfortable top 10 where we're 4 or 5 points away from the next team, and I think that all season where we don't need to worry about what's behind, we're comfortable, and then we can chase like a 7th place. I think that's where realistically for me, but that's because I've seen all sorts the last 26 years. Mike's Newcastle for
I'm just ambitious.
Yeah. But yeah, if you can smash that like, everybody, we're coming towards the end of the video. So please do. Thank you very much. This is Grace's first time on NFTV. Very, very happy that you came on, Grace. I'm sure we'll get you back on very, very shortly. Very knowledgeable as well about football as well. So yeah, I do appreciate you coming on, helping us out here on Newcastle Fans TV. You can smash that like for us, smash it for Grace. Enjoyed it?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me. I'll happily come back.
Definitely will. Right, everybody, wishing love you and leave us and go and watch the Champions League final. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Please go away and enjoy your night. Take care, everyone.